Welcome to Texans Training Camp Live, presented by Xfinity. You're getting a live look at the quarterbacks warming up for day 3 over at the Houston Methodist Training Center. Welcome in. I'm DP Sidhu along with my good friend Drew Doherty. We got you covered every single day from camp live as practice now gets underway. Still no pads for the players. They're still in jerseys and shorts. Pads will be coming soon, though. But, Drew, we've had a few days under our belt to get used to the players out there at camp. We've kind of gotten used to the heat, but any observations so far? I know it's still early.
Yeah, fans will be out there tomorrow on Saturday, so that's going to be fun. It'll add a new level to things. But the guys are settling in. As you see, some of the offensive linemen and defensive linemen, Tyrod Taylor there, number 5, getting some work in at the start of things. Tim Kelly, the offensive coordinator, in the sweat-soaked sweatshirts and sweatpants. Don't know why people wear long sleeves and long pants in this weather, but hey, to each his own. It's still early on, like you're mentioning, so it's tough to observe and see things. But, guys like Chris Conley doing a nice job catching the football. He is number 18 right there. He has a new number. You see Laramie Tunsil behind him, the left tackle, 78, and there's 31. David Johnson getting in the mix. But, yeah, it's just been fun to get back out there and to actually have football to talk about, DP.
Yeah, it is. It's been a lot of fun. I think watching this offense come together has been a lot of fun. In the middle there is number 68, Justin Britt, offensive lineman. He played 6 seasons for Seattle. We heard from him yesterday with the media. And, I mean, if that doesn't get you fired up, I don't know what does, because he's sort of got this chip on his shoulder. He's hungry, got cut by Seattle in 2019. He'd been a starter there. As a rookie in 2014, he was a starter at right tackle for the Seattle Seahawks and then had moved to right guard the next year and then center. So he's played all over the line and then got cut when he had the knee injury, spent last offseason rehabbing, and he's ready to get back at it. And there he is lining up, number 68, Justin Britt. And, he's really excited about this offensive line. A lot of early praise for how that run blocking scheme's looking so far. I know no pads, so we still have to temper our enthusiasm a bit. But I know, Drew, you've talked about it as well. We expect this offensive line to be better this year.
No doubt. And you bring up Justin Britt. He's a guy that, just by nature of where he plays at center, he's got to be a leader as far as calling out the protections and changing alignments, picking blitzes up, stuff like that. And in addition to just doing that, he's really taken ownership of that leadership job up front, I think. Everything we hear and see from him is he's really come in here and kind of been a true leader. And so it's been fun to see that. You heard from him yesterday. Obviously, you can watch that video up on HoustonTexans.com or the Houston Texans mobile app. But I do think this offensive line is going to play better, I think, because of guys like him. The continuing maturation of some of the younger guys like Titus Howard, Max Sharping. And Laramie Tunsil's still sort of a younger player. He's not an old guy in this league, and he's played at a Pro Bowl caliber the last 3 or 4 seasons. He's gone to the last 2 Pro Bowls, his first 2 Pro Bowls, but he was playing great even before that. I think as long as they keep on gelling under the leadership of a new offensive line coach in James Campen in a new offense, I do think you could see some better results for this offensive line. And when that happens, like I've said before, that cascades over into so many different areas of the team. It even flows over to the defense because, hey, if your offensive line is better, you're probably running the ball better, which means your defense is not going to be on the field as much because the offense is kind of chewing up time on the clock, getting to the end zone, you think, knock on wood, knock on glass here. But I do think this offensive line is going to be better.
Yeah, we saw the wide receivers join the formation there just a little while ago. Number 12 there, Nico Collins, the rookie out of Michigan, changed numbers. And, man, he is tall. When you see him out there lining up, he looks good on the field. He looks the part, obviously still a rookie. But so far, Brandon Cooks has been very high on him this offseason, saying that he looks like a rookie. He's a rookie on paper, but as far as everything else, his work ethic and how he's been able to absorb some of this information early on, it's been pretty good for him. And obviously, Nico Collins, we've talked about it before, experience with Pep Hamilton before in college. So, and now you see some of the other offensive linemen join in. Just one transaction to get to from yesterday. The Texans did sign another wide receiver, Jordan Vesey. He played for the Washington football team. He will wear number 84, so I'm sure we'll see him here in a bit. And then they made it official that they traded Randall Cobb to the Green Bay Packers. So a few more changes there in the wide receiver group. And then yesterday, Chris Conley and Anthony Miller, I was marveling at number 18's catches, thinking it's Anthony Miller, and then realized that they sometime between the rosters being printed and before the start of practice swap numbers again. So I know you had a chance to catch up with Chris Conley as well, but both of those guys really impressing so far in camp.
No doubt. And, you see number 10 there in the red jersey. That's Davis Mills. He's the quarterback. Texans took him in the 3rd round, obviously. He was their first draft choice in this year's draft. He's done a nice job running things, and that's been a carryover from OTAs where he was solid and could do some nice stuff as well. It's going to be fun to see how many reps he gets with that second team, how many reps he eventually gets with the first team if that happens, because he's somebody that has some talent and there's a lot of intrigue to him, and they liked what they saw from him when he was running the show in OTAs, because Tyrod Taylor was not here for a lot of it, neither was back then Ryan Lindley, and you bring Jeff Driscoll in later, so Davis Mills was playing a lot of quarterback and getting a lot of reps back then, and they liked what they saw in how he ran the offense, got guys in the right spot, and distributed the ball to them. So can't wait to see how he matures and progresses here in camp. And you see him with a quick short throw there to the right side, changing the arm angle, going sidearm there. So let's see what Davis Mills can do as he trots off the field.
You know, one of my favorite drills in camp is called the 2-spot team, where they have they start at the 50-yard line, and then you've got first team offense, first team defense going one direction, and then you've got the second team offense and second team defense. And, guys substitute around, and then they move in the other direction. But when Davis Mills is out there, it's really hard because I want to watch him because you see all the rookies in that grouping. You see him throwing to some of the younger guys, the Brevin Jordans of the mix, Nico Collins. So you want to watch them, but then obviously you want to watch some of your vets too out there and see how they're gelling. So I think it's been a lot of fun to watch Davis Mills. They've had a lot of high energy in camp. There's obviously 4 quarterbacks out there, so there's a lot of action going on, but I'm very curious to see what he does. Not a lot of game film on him, but of course, he comes from Stanford, and he's got a great football background, a great football story. And Pep Hamilton talked about him this offseason, how he had been in touch with David Shaw since Davis Mills was in high school. So he'd been watching his career develop over the years, and here he is now in Houston. And I think the sky's the limit is if he gets a handle on this playbook. Yeah,
at one point he was one of the highest-rated quarterback prospects in the nation coming out of high school. And Paul was asking about that because we're taking your questions from social media. But Paul wanted to know how Davis Mills is doing. He's doing well, Paul. It's good.
Davis Mills, number 10.
Yeah.
It's so hard to tell right now in camp. There's no pads. Right. The defenses aren't running full speed at them. So, you really get to watch sort of the mechanics of a guy and what he looks like. But I think once the pads come on and once the preseason action starts, I think preseason games are going to be really exciting this year, Drew, because there's so many guys trying to make the roster here, and there's so many guys that they're really relatively unknown in this offense or defense. So I think the preseason games are going to be a lot of fun to watch. It's not going to be like, oh, here are the starters and now the backups are in, because really everyone's fighting for a starting spot.
Well, you bring that up, and Carson in Houston says, have y'all decided, like you and me, have y'all decided on a starting QB yet? Well, it's going to be Tyrod Taylor, right? Right now it's going to be Tyrod Taylor. Nobody's saying that, but he's going to be the starter, unless something weird happens injury-wise. But Tyrod Taylor's probably going to start. I do think you, at some point, will likely see Mills this season. But, yeah, Carson, probably going to be Tyrod Taylor to answer that question. So we love those questions. We thank you for sending them in. We even got a YouTube fan in Finland watching today.
That's amazing. I love when we have our international fans chiming in. Juan wants to know, how is the tight end group looking? Juan, I had a chance to catch up with Jordan Akins.
Yeah.
And tight end group's looking good. Obviously, Pharaoh Brown, he's on the non-football injury list right now, but he can come off of that at any time. But you've got him, you've got the rookie Brevin Jordan, you've got Jordan Akins, you've got Kahale Waring.
Yes.
The tight end group looks good. There's going to be a lot asked of them this year because obviously everyone has talked about how they want to get this run game going, and a lot of that's going to depend on the tight ends, too, and their role in this offense.
Yeah, it is. And Pharaoh Brown is a guy he's been on a bike the first few days of camp, but you can't question his toughness. You can't question what he's done, because last year there were a couple times where he caught a pass, and it took about 14 guys to bring him down. I mean, he was a load.
Trucked through.
Yes, and he was helpful in the run game as far as a blocker, a very willing and capable blocker in that regard. But then you've got a lot of tantalizing talent in a guy like Kahale Waring and in Brevin Jordan, both young guys, different situations. One's a rookie, one's in his third year and has not played too much, but he was, there was a third-round pick spent on Kahale Waring. So, yeah, it's an interesting mix there at the tight end spot, and it's certainly emerging as well as you look there at some defensive backs and some defensive back work. And you brought up Nico Collins earlier. Josh was asking about Nico Collins. It's a guy that Brandon Cooks continues to rave about and continues to do nice things in Collins. So the year off, quote unquote, because he wasn't really off. He didn't play at Michigan last year, but he was working out and doing stuff on his own with a variety of trainers. The year off, he looks good. There does not look to be a lot of rust as far as his game goes.
Yeah, you see some of the defensive backs. You see A.J. Moore there, who's doing some nice things early on in camp. He always is a standout in camp, and I feel like since he's been here, he's just sort of elevated his status year after year. Him, Keon Cross, and Terrence Brooks having some big pass breakups so far in camp. Be sure to check out Harris Hits. I also have notes and quotes, but we sort of talk about some of the highlights and the plays of the day, but the defensive backs having some fun out there. And Keon Crossan, the other day I was watching practice, and he came up to Tyler Suddarth, who does our video. He's our videographer, and he came up to him and started talking into the camera. So
that's Keon Crossan. He'll also dance from time to time.
And then I came in, and it's hot, it's sweaty, it's been 2.5 hours, and he was still smiling.
Yep.
Always had a smile on his face, but he's been having a really physical, really good camp out there so far. So there they are, the defensive backs warming up, along with the running backs. And Tani wants to know, I think it's Tani or Tony. It's got two N's in there, so
could be
I'm
Tony,
not really
Tony,
sure. Tony. How is the running backs group looking? And you know what? They're looking really good right now. I think that's one of the things that I'm most excited to see when the pads come on.
Right.
It's a whole new group. You've got Mark Ingram, who joins David Johnson, who joins Philip Lindsay. And we heard from Philip Lindsay yesterday. He said it's one of the best running back groups he's been a part of so far just because of the versatility.
Right.
That's just not just an experience level, but also in their skill set. So I'm really excited to see what this running back group looks like, especially like how we talked about earlier with the improved offensive line.
No doubt. And Lindsay's a guy that I'm still intrigued about because we've seen what he can do. We saw him as a rookie, and he looked pretty good back in 2018 and had 1,000 yards that year. Went for better than 5 yards a carry. Had 1,000 yards the next year. Had injury problems last season, so he didn't have the season he wanted, and he was let go by Denver. Nick Ferguson used to play here, and we've brought this up on the show over the last few days, but it bears repeating. Nick played safety for a decade in the NFL. 5 years in Denver, spent the final 2 years here. Now he's on the radio in Denver as a sports talk radio host. He loves the Lindsay addition here. He thinks Philip Lindsay can really do some nice things if you get the ball in his hands about 15 times a game, whether it's running or catching. And he said, yes, this guy can catch the ball. They just, for some reason, did not throw it to him enough. But he said he's a mismatch problem if you do get him in space because he's fast and he can be violent when he needs to be violent. And, Philip Lindsay could be a very nice surprise, very nice addition to this team.
Yeah, he is a nice addition to this team, and along with Rex Burkhead, we didn't even mention him, but a lot of fun to watch. Yesterday I had a chance to catch up with Jordan Akins. He was asked about it earlier in the show, but I wanted to find out from Akins how his offseason went and what he thinks about this new offense. And take a look right here. Welcome into the Deep Slant 101 presented by Xfinity. Joining me today, Year 4 veteran tight end Jordan Akins, fresh off the practice field. Jordan, give us a sense of what camp's been like so far. I know it's really early, but you've been making some nice catches. We saw you out there late getting a nice diving catch from Tyrod Taylor. How's it been for you so far?
It's been very competitive. A lot of competition, great competition. We're pushing each other, making each other better. So, the chemistry is getting there. Me and Tyrod, we've been working, and as well as the other tight ends. So, we're trying to bring each other along and win a couple games this year.
You are the veteran of the group, and tight ends coach Andy Bischoff this offseason said as much, that you're really just a leader in that room. You're willing to do anything to learn and get better. But what is it like with this new offense? You still have Tim Kelly there, but then you've got Andy Bischoff, who came from the Ravens. What's it like sort of meshing those two ideas together and some of the new things you get to do this year?
It's great. They're picking each other's brain, finding ways to get the tight ends more open and get more balls to the tight ends, and, just doing what works for the team. As well as taking a lot of pressure off the wide receivers and the running back. So, the blocking schemes are a lot better, and he brings a lot to the table, and it's working in our favor.
What about you for strengths and weaknesses? What are some things that you've seen you've really gotten better at over the past few years and some things that you still want to work on here in camp?
Footwork and blocking, as well as being more creative in my routes, creating more separation for myself, and being more presentable for throws, and using my body as well as my speed to go and attack the ball.
You're such a dynamic receiver. What about the run game? Because Coach Bischoff said that you guys are basically Swiss Army knives. You're asked to do everything. So how do you view the run game and sort of the skill set that's needed to run block there?
You have to be very physical. You have to be able to go down in the trenches and hold your weight and move some bodies, as well as use your speed to get out on the edge of the outside zone. And they've been very creative with the run and mixing in the passes. So, it's going to work pretty well, I believe. We're going to buy in and, see where it takes us.
How about this offseason? What did you get up to? What were you busy working on? Did you get to go anywhere? I know it's a lot different from last year's offseason, but how about yours?
This year I focused on my body, healing my body, a lot of stretching, a lot of body maintenance with my hammies and my calves, and footwork as well as speed, and maintaining my strength as well. Getting a little stronger, cutting some fat, and picking up more body mass. Muscle mass.
So I've noticed that a lot of guys have been changing their numbers, even in the tight ends room. Kahali changed numbers. Brevin Jordan's got the number 9, but you decided to stick with 88. Did you was there a moment where you thought I might change my number, or are you really married to the number 88?
In high school I was number 5, but I was more like a quarterback and a wide receiver and a punt return, kick return. But all the greats were 88, so I switched to 88 in college. And I've been a tight end, so a lot of greats, like I say, Tony Gonzalez and a lot of Vince Carter, a lot of people back in the day were 88. So I'm going to under the number, and hopefully I can be considered a great by the end of my journey.
I hope you are too. And you know what? I like that you kept with 88 because it's really hard to learn people's numbers, especially when they keep changing. But we always know that 88 is Jordan Akins. Jordan, thanks so much for the time, and best of luck for the rest of camp.
Thank you.
Welcome into the Deep Slant 101 presented by Xfinity. Joining me.
Good stuff with Jordan Akins. You can see him out there warming up and stretching with the rest of the team. And Drew, last year, a lot of people want to forget about last year, but when you look at Jordan Akins' numbers, he saw action 13 games with 5 starts. He had a single season high of 37 receptions. So he was targeted so much, even in a season that didn't end the way anyone wanted it to. But, you think the arrow's pointing high for Jordan Akins. He's healthy. He's back on the field. He's got the tight end group around him. They've got a new offense. They're incorporating a lot of new things with Andy Bischoff coming from the Ravens. So he's worked with David Culley before. You've got him. You've got Tim Kelly. You've got Pep Hamilton. And you've got this freshness of ideas that's infused into the offense. And I think the tight end group is really going to benefit from that.
Yeah, and I need to look at the numbers specifically right now. But Akins has always talked about every offseason he wants to get bigger, get bulkier. He was a wide receiver for the main chunk of his playing days at UCF. And you got to remember, before that, he spent 4 years in the Texas Rangers minor leagues. So he was a baseball player for 4 years right out of high school. So he's getting to the football game a little bit later than some. But he's trying to bulk up, and he has added a little bit this offseason, which should continue to help them with what he's doing. And, played wide receiver. Another guy who plays wide receiver is Andre Roberts. Alejandro out there, thank you for this question, is asking, how is Andre Roberts playing? He looks good. I mean, this guy's riding a Pro Bowl streak and has been, one of the best return men in the game the last few seasons, and he wants to keep that up. The Texans could use that production, that productivity. He's good for about 10 yards a pop in his career when he catches a punt. So, hey, you'll take that every single time if you're moving the chains, basically a first down. And it takes you from, if you're at the 10 to the 20, that makes a world of difference when you're calling plays on offense.
I thought what was really interesting, Frank Ross, special teams coordinator this offseason, had said that when he was coaching with other teams, when they saw Andre Roberts on the opposing side, they had to really account for him returning the ball. So I like to hear that in a return man. I know this team has really dealt with a lot of different returners over the years. No one's really stuck, but I hope Andre Roberts brings that experience. I mean, that's what he's known for. When you see him back the returning balls and returning kicks, it's exciting. He's exciting to watch. He's fast, he's explosive, and he just has such good hands. He catches the ball like in the air. John Harris asked him about it the other day because I had mentioned to Johnny that I'd never seen that before. And Andre said he's not giving away any secrets. So I can't wait to see that more in game action. He's also out there on offense. Every now and then you see him catching passes as well.
Yeah, while you were interviewing Jordan Akins yesterday, Andre Roberts actually walked by the rest of us. It was me, it was Tyler Marcotte, who's running the show, it was Caroline Jordan, who also helps out on the show, and maybe one or two other folks. And there was a little bit of chatter going on about jersey numbers and who was who. And there was a debate amongst us about Chris Conley's jersey number. I thought one thing, they thought the other. Andre Roberts came in and gave us the right answer on that. And it was very interesting because he was walking by, headed out. So he wants to know out there, when will jersey numbers be final? I guess.
Hopefully soon.
Well, and really the answer is probably never because things change. But, it's a very fluid situation, Juan. But, I think some guys leave and get cut. and they might have a number that somebody else on this roster would like to have. So when that guy leaves, a lot of times that a guy or two will say, "Hey, can I get that number?" And it changes, and numbers will get tweaked. So I think you'll see about 5 or 6 more number tweaks between now and the regular season.
I think once the regular season starts, the numbers are final.
Yeah,
I don't really
final,
see any switching beyond that, but it's really hilarious in camp how many number switches have been happening and daily. Like guys that have already switched their numbers, switching numbers again because, like you're saying, numbers are freeing up. And I think it was Anthony Miller and Chris Conley. They were 17 and 18, and they swapped yesterday in between practice. And Anthony Miller had swapped from a single-digit number just the day before. So I feel like eventually we're going to learn these numbers, but I'm not committing myself to anything yet because I just feel like they're still going to.
Well, commit to this. Francisco wants to know, what jersey number would you wear if you were in the NFL? What would it be?
You know what? I would wear 1 just because I love the number 1 on a jersey. I don't know if I'd be good enough to wear 1. I think you have to be a really good player to be 1. So if I'm not good enough to wear 1, I'd wear my favorite number 4.
Okay, I'd be 34 or number 1 like you. Number 1's a clean look. If you're
It just
Carlos
looks
Correa,
good.
Warren Moon
Yeah.
back in the day, I like it. 34, that's a fun one.
Tyler Market in my ear is saying he'd
he's
wear
a
0, and I don't know
which
why
makes a lot
anybody
of
doesn't
sense.
wear.
Makes a lot
Why
of
anybody
sense.
doesn't wear 0 in the NFL? I wonder if they bring that back soon.
Hey, we got JC chiming in. He says, which group has been making more plays, the offense or the defense? And JC, it's a stumper, man. It's kind of been a typical training camp for me as far as observing. I've seen both sides make some plays. The defense has had some nice pass breakups. There have been some deep balls that I've seen. I mean, it's kind of, I hate to just beg it off on you. I'm sorry, but I've seen each side doing some nice things. It hasn't been one of those, the offense is just ripping up the defense, or the offense can't get anything done because the defense is playing so well. I don't know about you. I mean, does that jive with what
I
you've
would
seen?
agree with you. It's only 2 days
Yeah.
in, and I think I'm looking more at individual players that are
Right.
really standing out,
Right.
and it's really hard to just see the whole group as a whole because there's so many substitutions. I mean, it's not like you're seeing a first-team offense stick together. There's substitutions within that, so it's really hard to get a gauge on offense versus defense. You see plays on both sides of the ball. I think every day I write down an equal number of good plays from both sides of the ball. So I probably watch the offense a little bit more because they're in our direct line of sight, but then the defense is on the other field and they're going up against each other. So I don't know. Stay tuned. Maybe somebody will emerge later on in camp, but so far, no early favorites. And let's wait till the pads come on here in a few days and we'll have some more answers for you. All right, that's going to do it for Texans Training Camp Live, presented by Xfinity. We will be live again tomorrow, every single day throughout camp. Be sure to check out HoustonTexans.com. We're going to have live coverage of all the press conferences post-practice. But for today's show, I want to give a special thanks to Tyler Marcotte, Caroline Jordan, Einav Leibowitz, Amanda Caffey, Alex Lozano, Drew Doherty, and myself on behalf of all of us. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, go Texans.